In 1958, Matt Busby lost more than a football team. He lost the young men that he believed in, protected and built his future around. Lying injured in a Munich hospital, he later admitted there were moments when he no longer wanted to live. So what made him carry on? What made him return to Manchester United and rebuild the dream that Munich had shattered? This is the story of Sir Matt Busby and the boys he never forgot. The dream that survived Munich. In a hospital bed in Munich, Matt Busby did not think about trophies. He did not think about league titles, famous players, or football glory. He thought his life in football was over. The young team he'd built, the boys he'd believed in, had been torn apart in the snow. And for a time, he did not know if he could ever face the game again. This is what makes Sir Matt Busby's story so much more than football. It's a story about belief, youth, grief, guilt, survival, and the difficult questions that follows tragedy. How do you carry on when the dream you created is destroyed? Matt Busby was born in Scotland in 1909, and his early life was far removed from the glamour of Wembley or the European Cup finals. He came from a working class world, and as a young man, he even worked in a coal mine. Football gave him a way out. He played first for Manchester City, later for Liverpool, and during the war served in the army. But long before he became the great Matt Busby, he was simply a young man trying to find his place. And that mattered, because Busby later admitted that when he first left home as a teenager, he struggled badly. He felt out of place, he felt inferior. He even packed his case one night and thought about going home for good. That memory stayed with him. It helped explain why years later he understood young footballers so well. To Busby, they were never just players. They were boys leaving home, trying to grow up, trying to become something. And after the war, Manchester United offered him a manager's job. It was not the grand post it sounds like now. Old Trafford had been damaged during the war, and United even had to play at Manchester City's ground for a while. But Busby had ideas. He wanted control, he wanted to build a club properly. He believed football should be exciting, attacking and full of life. He believed the crowd deserved entertainment after a hard week's work. And above all, he believed in youth. In the early 1950s, he made the boldest decision of his career. Instead of relying on older established players, he trusted young ones. He brought teenagers into the first team and built a side around energy, courage and trust. They became known as the Busby Babes. The name sounds affectionate, but on the pitch they were fierce, fast and fearless. They won the league in 1956. They won it again in 1957. Their average age was startlingly low, but they played with confidence of men far older. To Busby, this was more than a successful side. It was the future. He had built not just a team, but a football family, and he believed they could conquer Europe. That was important because at the time, so many in football were wary of Europe. Busby was not. He felt the future of the game lay there. He wanted Manchester United to be part of it. In February 1958, United travelled to Belgrade for the European Cup match against Red Star. They got through to the next round. Then came the flight home. The aircraft stopped in Munich to refuel. Snow was falling. There were aborted takeoff attempts. On the third attempt, the plane crashed. 23 people died. 8 of them were Manchester United players. The Busby Babes, the brilliant young side that seemed destined for greatness, had been shattered in moments. Busby himself was terribly injured. In hospital, he slowly came round. He later admitted something deeply painful. At the time, he did not want to live. The physical injuries were severe, but the mental wounds were worse. He had fought to take Manchester United to Europe. Now many of the boys that he'd led were dead. The crash was not his fault, but guilt does not always listen to logic. He later spoke of the ghosts of the boys still hovering around Old Trafford. For years he felt their presence. Even after all he'd achieved later, Busby would still say that the pre-match Munich team were the greatest side he'd ever had. Back in Manchester, his assistant Jimmy Murphy had to hold the club together. Murphy had not been on the plane, and when he saw Busby in hospital, Busby gave him a simple instruction: keep the flag flying, and Murphy did. With a patched up side of reserves, youth players and survivors, Manchester United somehow carried on. It was no longer just football, it was grief trying to stand upright. But Busby himself still had to decide whether he could come back. The turning point came from his wife, Jean. She told him that football was his life, and that the lads would probably have wanted him to come back. That was enough to plant the small seed. Busby returned. The rebuilding took time. It was not just about replacing players, it was about rebuilding belief. Survivors like Bobby Charlton carried their own emotional burden. Charlton later admitted that he felt guilt. Why had he survived when so many of his friends had not? That pain stayed with the club. But so did Busby's determination. Manchester United slowly rose again. They won the FA Cup in 1963. Then came new success in the league. And finally, in 1968, 10 years later, after Munich, United reached the European Cup finals at Wembley. Their opponents were Benfica. For many, it was simply a great football occasion. For Busby, Bobby Charlton and Bill Foulkes, it meant far more than that. It was the unfinished dream of the Busby Babes. The match went to extra time. George Best scored, Brian Kidd scored, Bobby Charlton scored again. Manchester United won 4-1. At last, Matt Busby had taken Manchester United to the summit of Europe. And yet, even then, his heart still belonged partly to the lost team. That is what makes this triumph so emotional. It was not only a victory for the men on the pitch, it was a tribute to those who never came home from Munich. In later years, Matt remained a father figure at the club. Players remember his warmth, his care, and the way he looked after people as human beings, not just footballers. So Matt Busby died on the 20th of January 1994, aged 84. At Old Trafford, supporters brought flowers, scarves and personal tributes. The words used about him were revealing. People did not always speak about the trophies. They spoke about the warmth, integrity, courage and compassion. For many, Matt Busby and Manchester United have become almost inseparable. And today he lies in Southern Cemetery in Manchester with his wife, Lady Jean. Standing at his grave, you realise that what he left behind was greater than football success alone. He understood young people. He built a dream. The dream was shattered in Munich, and somehow, carrying all that grief, he still found the strength to go on. That is why Matt Busby still matters, because the greatest thing he ever built was not simply Manchester United, it was himself. In loving memory of Lady Jean Busby, the beloved wife of Sir Matt, much loved mother of Sheena and Sandy, and dear Nana, died the 19th of December 1988, aged 80 years, forever in our hearts, and her devoted husband, Sir Matt Busby. CBE KCSTG, loving father of Sheena and Sandy, and dear granddad Matt. Died on the 20th of January 1994, aged 90 years, no longer in our lives to share, but in our hearts you are always there. There we go. Well, Sir Matt, thank you ever so much for the great football time and memories you gave to lots of fans, Manchester United fans and all that kind of thing. Well done. Sir Matt Busby's legacy was not about football really, it was about having the courage to carry on and rebuild. He believed in youth and perseverance and the strength to overcome after Munich. His spirit lives on in every football team that dares to rise again. But really, it wasn't about that, it's about his mind, not the football. and the way that he encouraged and overcome adversity, wasn't it, really? And it's wonderful that you're enjoying these stories out there. We could never have done these until recently, could we? And I keep them accurate, I do the research. And it's just wonderful that you enjoy. And I'll keep on doing them. So don't forget to subscribe, hit the notifications bell, bong, give me the thumbs up and the comment, because I love the comments. So from me on, I'll see you all very soon. Take care. Bye.